3SFX presents the Indoob podcast with your host, T. Sterling Watson.
Good morning, Indoobians. I'm T. Sterling Watson.
And I'm Kortney.
This is the Indoob podcast, where drive time meets late night talk show as we aim to entertain, enlighten, and provide an auditory escape with knowledge and nonsense. Thank you for stopping by and pressing play. We're recording live from wherever we are, and we're going to get into it because today we're going to talk about the MCU and pretty much just looking back at Phase 4. But let me back up. I'm so sorry. Kortney, how are you?
I am doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well too. It's the end of the year. Normally we do some kind of like wrap up of some sort, and we'll sometimes celebrate festivities and holidays and all that stuff. But I'm like, nope, let's not do that. We're going to talk about MCU stuff because we haven't nerded out about that in quite some time. We haven't talked about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and I mean, we're going to get into it. I'll say that, but we're only going to allot 5 minutes of each Phase 4 property that has come out.
Okay.
Property, is that the right term?
Sure. I think so.
Okay. Project. Because we're going to talk about the shows and the movies. And
nice.
I'll just get it out now. I'll ask you now. Have you seen all of the shows?
No. Nope.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get out now because I kind of knew, but I didn't want to like put you on the spot and make you feel guilt or anything or shame.
Yeah. You don't want me to feel okay.
I don't. I didn't want to be like, hey, have you seen this? And then I'd be like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna move on. But I'll give my thoughts, and then we'll just kind of move on to the next thing.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
And I can let you know what I have seen. So.
Okay. Well, I think I'll name it, and then you kind of go from there. I haven't seen it. I'm like, okay, well, here's my thoughts, blah, 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 and then we'll keep it going. But
sounds
I think
good.
I also kind of want to give it a bit of a rating because I felt like I wanted to do this kind of in defense of Phase 4. A lot of people have been talking about how this has been like maybe one of the worst phases, or some of like a lot of the parts of it just didn't meet to whatever standards or whatever they were looking for. And I'm not sure what was so upsetting about that, or them. It could be them. I'm not sure.
Well, I think after closing out, I don't know what the phase actually was, but the 10-year phase with Avengers Endgame, I feel like folks, I mean, that was so, climactic, and it ended, this thing that started it all, this phase that we, grew up on and knew and loved for the past 10 years. And then to start over, it's kind of a little bit of a bummer because like I haven't seen a lot of the properties that are out right now. And I don't think, I don't have the feeling that it's less than the others or the past phase. It's a whole different feel, so it's, I don't know.
I agree. And I think that's what it is. It's really a bit of a reset. So you got to have to, I don't know, manage your expectations a little bit better or differently.
Right.
But it's all for the purpose of story and entertainment. And I, for one, got to say, I've been entertained. I've had stories told to me that, I was going to say I wouldn't get it elsewhere, but you get them in comic book form. But that's the point of going to the movies, to see the interpretation or interpolation. There's a word in there. I don't know how to say it. Do you know what word I'm talking about?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I've seen it, and I'm
finish the rest of the
sentence. This is, I think it's normally used in music, where someone will take a piece of music and incorporate it within their own original piece, or maybe a retelling or a reimagining of it. So it's it's in there. It's in that area. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Is it extrapolate or extrapolate?
Yeah, but no. I think it starts with an inter. part?
Oh,
Interpolate.
I
I don't know. We're going to move on. The first film in, let me start the timer here. First film is Black Widow. Now, this one, have you seen this one?
Nope.
I'm sorry, I kind
Starting
of.
off pretty strong.
You're what?
Nope.
Nope, you
Starting off
haven't.
strong.
Okay, sorry. It was a great start too. Yes, it was. Your nope was so quick that's why I didn't catch it the first or second time.
I was just
And
trying to get it out, you know.
I know, and it's not bad, but it's like what we just talked about. You're coming off of a high from not even just Endgame, but even after that was the second Spider-Man movie. So, which even that ended on a cliffhanger. So you're coming in with a character that we already know is dead. So. Yeah. I felt that this movie came too late. Like it should have been around like Civil War. Like it should have came out then. But here we are. We have this film and it wasn't bad. Honestly, I didn't dislike it. Like it introduced us to some new characters. It gave us basically a new Black Widow, told us the story of Natasha Romanoff. And it has its place within this universe. I just felt, and I think a lot of people would probably agree, it came too late. Like my care level wasn't as high. I did go to the theater to see it, enjoyed what I saw, but I'm like, meh.
Yeah.
And it's a high meh. It's a meh plus.
Okay.
If that, and I'm not necessarily, and I'm not here to try to sell you or anyone listening to watch these films. It's just my feelings towards them. And normally I'm pretty, positive about most things, but looking back, it's a meh for me, like a high meh. Like I enjoyed it. I would watch it again. I would.
Okay. Well, I would love to watch it one day. Because I feel like I can't be a true Marvel fan and not watch what they put out, like all of it. I mean, I guess you can be a true fan, but like not a super true fan. So
right. And it does have pieces in it that connect. I mean, as most of them do, but they do connect to other things within the universe. So, it is worth watching. You get to meet new characters. Like I said, the newer Black Widow and a character that's showing, actually a couple of characters that'll be showing up in Thunderbolts, which I believe is in the next phase, if not the phase after that. So yeah, it's definitely worth watching. So yeah. So I will I don't know, reclaim my time, as it were. And trying to reset my timer here. Newfangled thing. Anyway, we're going to move on to Shang-Chi. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, because there's a whole thing within the movie about how to pronounce it correctly. But did you watch this one?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Like you said, you are starting off strong. So
starting off real strong.
I know. Well, it is a good movie. It's definitely Ashley's favorite, one of her favorites. It's a brand new character, like to the point I think many people have never even really heard of this character before, and let alone the Legend of the Ten Rings. And we've heard about the Ten Rings, but that was a facade. It was a false Ten Rings. It was not the real Ten Rings. So we get to learn about the actual origin of that, the baddie who wields them, which is actually the father of Shang-Chi, and they have to have this whole battle at the end, which is pretty cool. It's a very fun movie, and it's one that we definitely have watched multiple times and just enjoyed, because it's good. It's good old-fashioned Marvel fun with new characters to love. We get our first taste of or not even our first taste, because we've met him before, but Wong really becomes the MVP of Phase 4, and I will do my best to point out those reasons why he is the MVP of Phase 4. So this is our first offering of him in this phase, and just, we'll continue from there. Like is this something that you, again, I know you kind of said as a true like MCU or Marvel fan, is this on your
Mm-hmm.
list of when, or not when, but that you would want to watch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's just one of those things. I mean, I want to see that one more than Black Widow because I've heard like the storyline is really good and that it fits more into. I guess Black Widow does fit into this phase, but I've heard that Shang-Chi really fits into it more, and so I'm here for it. I just haven't done it yet.
Mm-hmm. I feel you. I feel you. Well, I'm going to stop the clock here again, reset as we go into the next movie, which I'm pretty sure you have seen. And again, I'm going in order the movies have been released, and we're doing films first, and then we're going to go do the TV shows and specials. Sorry, I forgot to put that. I forgot to explain that part.
Gotcha.
Next up is the Eternals, or rather, sorry, just Eternals. The isn't listed there, but they are the Eternals. And I know you've seen this one, so I can let you go first.
Woohoo! I have seen it. And I am probably one of the few that actually liked it. It was a different kind of Marvel film, and I like the flow and the pacing of it, and I just really liked it. Like, I'm very interested to see how they fit into this next phase in terms of like Kang's storyline and how it all ties together in that way. But I really liked it, Eternals, and I like the change of pace actually.
And I think that's what it was too. It is a change of pace, and that took some time for me personally just to kind of like switch gears because I'm so used to the comic quips and the fast paced of either action or what have you. And it does have that. It just takes a little while to get there, and there's purpose behind it. And I think I even first described it to you as Marvel's take on a National Geographic kind of I forgot the rest of that statement that I gave to you, but there's, it's been a couple of years now, or a year, almost a year to the day, almost, or a year and a month, whatever. But it is a very beautiful film to see, to watch. It's very cinematic, and that's, all probably Chloe Zhao's direction, of course. And I just felt that this would have been better as a series or like a limited series because we have so many characters that are doing so many things throughout time. And I personally felt it would have been better if it were a TV series, not like the one of Marvel's actual failures. Oh my God, I can't even remember what they're called.
I know which is the show.
Inhumans. That's it.
Inhumans. Yeah. No, that was a movie.
Yes.
That I haven't seen, and I probably won't ever.
Oh no!
Was it a show?
Yeah, it was a show. Yes.
Never. I still don't want to see it, but I just feel like they completely missed the mark with it, and it could have been. It should have been so much better, for real.
It should have been, but I think it was. Oh yeah, I mean, Twitter tore it apart. And I was part of that crowd that did, because I did see the first 2 episodes and it wasn't getting any better. And the reasons why it was so bad, I would have to watch it again to really kind of tell you. Some of it had to do with just the way that it looked. Like, it didn't feel like a Marvel production. It felt cheap in a sense. It was too CGI heavy, and that's saying something when, again, we're talking about the Marvel universe here, but it was
bad CGI. Like,
it
wasn't believable. It wasn't like organic. It was bad.
I think parts of it just kind of felt forced, and this is from memory, from however many years ago this was, and it just wasn't working. And again, part of it had to do with the people behind it. A certain person named Scott Buck, I believe his name was, who just kept failing his way up into things. And if you don't know who that guy is, he's the reason why Dexter, as we know and love, the serial killer who also worked for the police, why that show took a turn for the worst. He was also behind at least the first season of Iron Fist, and probably why that show was so bad. So,
Yep.
yeah. So
Yep.
he was in charge of Inhumans. Yeah. So, but we're talking about Eternals. So Eternals has this story, and we're actively waiting to see how that story plays its role into the larger cinematic universe, which so far it hasn't really done too much other than introduce us to the Celestials a bit more. But other than that, it really hasn't connected too much more to us, like, or to the greater universe that we know so far. But they're planting seeds similar to, the way Guardians of the Galaxy. So,
and that's what they do best, I think.
Right. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else they have to offer if Chloe's going to come back to direct a sequel because of her vision. But, we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yep. And that is it for Eternals. We're going to move on to the next production property movie, which I'm betting you have seen, and that is Spider-Man No Way Home.
I've seen it. Finally.
Fantastic.
I was late to the party, but I saw it.
Yes, I do remember that. I think you actually did like a whole binge and did like a marathon back to back, something like that. Yes? No? Am I making that up?
Yes. No, I watched them. I did watch them back to back.
Okay. Yes. So what were your thoughts on No Way Home?
I loved it. Like, I loved it. Loved it. So very excited to see him team up with Doctor Strange again, I guess. And like, I love Doctor Strange, and I feel like he's one of my favorite characters just because he's a whole magician, and I love it. But to see the other Spider-Man, like from previous Spider-Man movies in the MCU because of the freaking multiverse, that's like, it blew my mind, and I still get teary thinking about it because it's just like my childhood coming, knocking me in the face, and I love it. So, but it's very sad because we lost Aunt May, and I loved her. I actually loved this iteration of May, and just the way she went was really, really sad. And but also just the fact that, like, Spider-Man really does have a sad life. Like, he's got a sad story, and that, I think this movie kind of follows how it is in the comics, where it's just really sad in the comics as well, just his whole life. So
kind of a tragic figure, if you will.
he's just a tragic figure, and such a good character, such a good guy, but tragedy always seems to kind of follow him. And so I think we got a glimpse of that in a different way than the comics, but maybe, I don't know about this storyline in particular, but like, it follows kind of that same trope with him in this movie. But the movie was great, and I do feel like it's gonna feed us into the multiverse storyline even more, and I really love that. Like, it's not hidden that this is a vital piece of this phase going forward. So I loved it.
Absolutely. This was our first look into the multiverse, or first introduction, if you will. And I mean, it literally sets us up for the next film, which we're not going to talk about just yet. But but this is our second encounter of Wong, because he makes an appearance here, warning Doctor Strange not to do what he's about to do, and he does it anyway.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved all the Spider-Men that arrived, and just like you, like, my childhood, and I also did think of you. I mean, this whole thing that it happening was the worst kept secret that they were in this movie. But even when they did appear, just the eruption within the theater that I was in, people clapping, and then Ashley looking at me, and people all around like, what is wrong with you people? I'm like, she gets it, but she just feels it's weird that people do that, but whatever.
Yeah.
But it was just, just a great moment in like cinematic history. Like, look at what's happening. This is great. Like, the nerd tears, they just bursted from my face. And I mean, it was a great story. It was a great reason to have them show up. Like, this is okay. How are they going to show up? And it's because of Peter's friend, whose name is escaping me right now, looking for Peter Parker. So why not call upon the actual Peter Parkers? That it was great. It was just really well done.
So good. So good. So
I
good.
hear you squealing still a bit.
Yes, definitely. No, I'm definitely curious if they're going to incorporate other Spider-Man as well, like Miles perhaps, or Spider-Gwen, or, any of the animated ones. I would love that. And I don't know. I don't see why they wouldn't, but I hope they do. And
I would love that too, but I feel like we're more likely to get that within like the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse or the ones that are coming out on Sony's side. I feel like we'd get that over there. So we may not get it in the MCU, but hey, who knows? I mean, they've been working out some deals.
Because Miles he's not MCU, he's Sony. Right?
Correct. Even though there is one that exists. We just haven't seen him. We haven't met him yet. I'll put it that way.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Willis?
Well, if you remember, and we only got 10 seconds, but if you remember in the first film, what is his name? Donald Glover mentions it. Like, I have a nephew around here. So kind of hinting at that he has a nephew, probably Miles, out there. So. Yeah.
We're going to have to talk more about that because I think I missed it completely. I missed that Easter egg completely.
Yeah, it's there, just kind of just dangling and just waiting for, something to happen. And so speaking of things happening, a lot happened in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Totally did.
So yeah, and you already kind of kicked it off saying that Doctor Strange is one of your favorites, probably because of the magic and just before you take the mic, I just want to say one of my favorite scenes is the fact that Doctor Strange fought Doctor Strange with music symbols, like just music notes, and that was just amazing. Anyway, go on. What do you like about this film?
I love that Wanda was in it. Because maybe she's my favorite character because I kind of forgot about her for a second. But I love that her story is continuing because of course I watched WandaVision, and which wasn't it the first show after Endgame?
Yes, it was. In fact, it wasn't supposed to be, but it ended up being that way, and that had to do like the pandemic stuff and so forth and so on. But yeah,
what was supposed to be the first show after Endgame?
You know what? I am not entirely sure. It could have been either Loki or the Captain America one, or not Captain America,
Soldier and
Winter
Falcon
Soldier
or whatever.
Right.
Well, I love that WandaVision was the first one because nobody really expected it. I didn't because I didn't know what the new lineup was. I knew WandaVision was coming up, but I didn't know anything about it. I had not seen hardly any trailers or any talk about it. I just knew that it was Wanda, and I knew I liked her, but I had never seen her power outside of the Avengers. She was not a major character, not really. So for her to have her own show, I was like,
I'm taking an executive decision here. I'm resetting the clock. We're going to talk about WandaVision now.
Oh, dang. Because I totally took that the other direction. Anywho, so yes.
Well, I mean, it makes sense to do that because it did come out before we got to where we are now. So so
I wasn't trying
WandaVision.
to go on a tangent about her though. I just love Wanda and I love WandaVision so much. But yes, I loved WandaVision. I love that she was the first, and I love that it started out in such a strange way because we started out as a 1950s sitcom, and it was not what we expected, not what I expected, and then for them to just slowly reveal what's going on, or rather for Wanda to slowly understand what was going on, it was just beautiful.
And I really did enjoy how it kept changing and updating with each episode. And
Yes, yes,
it was an adjustment definitely for a viewer, because I'm thinking of my parents who are like, this is weird. And also,
yeah,
where's the fighting? So
yeah,
it was completely different, but I really enjoyed that. But it still told the story if you were paying
yes.
attention. I mean, I'm
Oh
saying that
yeah.
most people were. And for it to actually turn into a bit of a Marvel movie by the end of it,
Oh my
because
gosh. Yes. Beautiful.
Wanda coming into her own.
Mm-hmm.
We also get to meet Monica Rambeau, and
Mm-hmm.
oh
Yes.
man, her transformation like was one of my favorite scenes within
Yes.
the whole series.
So maybe she's my
It was,
favorite character. I've said that
I
three times
mean,
now, but
I yeah, I know, but I mean, it was really great, and for that
hmm
reason, I still want to go back to rewatch it, but I haven't had quite that time to do so because I kind of want to
hmm
focus and look for the little details. And I mean, we
hmm
can't go on without talking about it was Agatha all along, because
yes.
that was just yeah,
Well,
yeah,
and to
it
go
was.
to touch on before we, because I could just dish on Agatha forever, and I will. But
Mhm.
before we move on, you mentioned how like the first part of the first couple episodes of the of WandaVision, it was like, is this Marvel? This is MCU? Where's the fighting? Where's the action? Where's the
Mhm.
superpowers? And I love that it wasn't like that at first, because we were fully engulfed in Wanda's fantasy world. It was fully, we were fully under her spell because we saw what she wanted us to see. We saw the black and white at first. We saw this housewife. Like there was magic, but it was very 50s TV sitcom magic,
Mhm.
you know. And I loved that. Um, I love that it was just so different. I mean, like I said, this was the first, I guess, project after that was released after Endgame, that I watched for sure, and it was so different. And to me, we were just engulfed in her world and in her grief is what we eventually came to learn about her. So I just it was perfect to me.
Yeah.
Um, and then Agatha was even more perfect. I just everything about her. She's the queen, and I love her. And I do think that it was a bit harsh what Wanda did at the end, though, of the show by essentially imprisoning her in the fantasy world. Um,
Well, I mean, she was like an antagonist, and it was,
sure, I
and
guess.
I actually I feel like this is something to revisit, like even not just for us to discuss, but also to watch and then come back and talk about it again. But
hmm
like she she was the antagonist of the show, but she, meaning Wanda, didn't quite become the antagonist until the next thing, because
That's true.
she is like, for her in this story, she is the hero. And
Yeah,
yeah, so she still has some
I.
things she has to answer for, which a lot of people have issues
Oh
with,
yeah,
but mm,
yeah. She definitely does. And I mean, I think it is somewhat justified in what she did to Agatha, because Agatha like was out of control, and it would have been real
manipulating her
bad. But
too.
manipulating her, I mean, out of control, just crazy, wow.
Mm,
But I don't know. I'm not so sure that the punishment that Wanda dished out, um, I mean, I guess it fit the crime, but if you're going to be the hero, that seems a bit harsh. I don't know. It seems a bit villainous to me. And then she does kind of show herself as the villain in the next movie. So maybe this is part of her villain story. I don't know.
I
I don't
think it
know.
is that is her origin story, and
Yeah.
now that is where we will transition to
Yeah.
Doctor Strange, which is a film that I think you've already said that you definitely do enjoy because of
hmm
Wanda. We do the critique that I do have about this film is that I wish we spent more time in other universes or in the multiverse some more.
Yeah. Me
I'm
too.
glad for the characters that we did meet. Like we did get to see Professor X, and we got to see the
Yes.
fan
Oh my
casted
gosh.
favorite of
Yes. John
Mr.
freaking
Fantastic.
Krasinski. Ah,
And
yes.
speaking of Inhumans, we did get to see Black Bolt. So
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right. So
Was it a
and that,
different
I mean,
Black Bolt?
yeah, it was definitely a different one. It wasn't that, it was one that wasn't canceled. So yeah.
Right.
So that was interesting and fun to see, and how the director, who Sam Raimi, definitely got to bring in his raininess, his horror kind of background, and able to kind of
Yeah.
actually scare us as
Yeah.
um
It's creepy. Creepy stuff.
right, because what's her face was going around just murking
American
people. I'm like,
people.
oh my.
When I loved how there was one scene. It was one of the action. I don't know. It's when Wanda was murking people, but she had like something splattered on her face, and I was like, "Is it blood? Is it oil from something?" I still don't recall if I ever figured it out, but it was so creepy. It was so perfect. It reminded me of Carrie in like the original
Mhm,
Carrie when they
mhm.
like dumped blood on her. It was wonderful. But I loved I loved it. I mean, even Doctor Strange encountered a lot of really creepy stuff, and um yeah, just it was awesome.
I've read like a couple Doctor Strange comic books, and it does, come into play where he does come across some kind of scary, creepy things. And there are more creepy, scary things to come because we still haven't met um what is it? Mephisto. Mephisto, who's basically the devil incarnate, if you will. And how creepy of a character he could be, or just things that he can bring about. And I mean,
Yeah.
when you deal with magic and stuff like this, you have to expect things to get weird in a
Yeah.
kind of scary, creepy way, which is,
Right.
an interesting, fun turn. I remember even being a little apprehensive, even though I definitely was going to watch it when they said that this is probably Marvel's first horror movie. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
huh.
Mm-hmm.
And, we are admitted weenies. So I'm like, okay, well, I
Yes.
really want to see this. So I'll just go for it. And it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad. I mean, because it is a Marvel movie, I saw the horror aspects of it and I loved them, but it wasn't a horror movie in terms of it needed to be rated R. And I mean, yes, kids needed to be supervised and maybe not see it, but like it as a self-professed weenie, it did not faze me. But
Right, right.
I
I
saw the
agree.
horror elements, so and I appreciated
I
them.
did too. I know enough about horror movies to recognize, like, oh, I see what they did there. I like that. Was nice. Good touch. Didn't scare
Hmm.
me like grab me gotchas, but it was like, ooh, I see what you're doing there. Not bad, not bad. Um, so I believe from here, I was just trying to make a judgment call, but no, we'll continue with the films. And the next film that comes up is Thor: Love and Thunder, which I had just recently was starting to rewatch pieces of. And it's
Hmm.
one of the films. Oh, wait, let me restart the clock because gotta make sure I stay on time here. But it was one of the most recent films to get a lot of backlash. And I'm not sure why. Like I've tried reading articles to see what it is that they have a problem with. But before we even try to analyze that, is this one that you've seen and do you like it?
Oh yes, and oh yes. Yes, I really liked it. I love this new direction that they're doing with Thor. Which I don't know, I don't know, maybe not being new direction, but I just love that they're kind of out of the era of super dark and stormy Thor. Like I liked
Mhm.
those movies, but it was just really, I don't know. I like this version of him better, a lot better.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not sure if I lost you. Was
I'm
it
still here.
me? Oh, okay.
I was done
Sorry.
speaking.
Oh, okay, gotcha. It just got super quiet. So yeah, I'm remembering some of the criticisms that I've heard, and it had to do with they felt, and I'm saying they as a group of just critics and people or whatever, and they felt there was too much Korg, maybe a little bit too much uh Taika kind of putting himself in the movie, not as Korg,
Mm,
but just more of his brand of comedy and just his style, I suppose, which I could see. I understand it, and maybe I could have used maybe 1% less Korg, but I like Korg as a character, I think. But again, like I'm saying, I get what they were criticizing about that aspect of it.
I mean, I get it.
I felt
it didn't bother me. I said I get it, but it did not bother me.
It didn't really bother me too much either, like overall, like because it was still a very enjoyable film. I loved the colors. It was very colorful, especially when you get to that tiny little planet that wasn't any color, like it was just devoid of it. I enjoyed the story for what it was. And I still kind of feel this way where I left the theater, left the movie feeling like, okay, that was, a sequel worthy of Ragnarok. But I think I still like Ragnarok better if I had, because that's really all I could really compare it to. And I didn't want to say I was blown away. I wasn't blown away, but I enjoyed the story. I was entertained. It was like, okay, that was pretty cool. That was fun. I enjoyed myself.
It's fun.
It continued. Yeah. Right. And that's also what I get what you're saying too, with the first two Thor movies. It was devoid of fun. I didn't have fun watching them.
Yeah. I mean, I liked the other films, but fun is the word. It wasn't as much fun. And it didn't tickle that like entertainment itch. Like it was entertaining, but not in a, and not in a fun way.
Right. And that's what it was, where it grabbed a lot of things, to continue the story, because we got to see the Guardians. They started out the film because Thor left with them at the end of Endgame. So we got to see them adventuring and realizing like, hey, you're not as much fun as we thought you were. So you have to leave. And just, going from there. And we got to meet Eternity, which I really was surprised that we'd actually be able to do that. Because that's, for me, a character that I've read in various comic books. And I'm like, wow, that would be really amazing to see that interpretation on screen. And then that gets to happen. And I'm like, wow. And I really would like to see more of those characters, which I can't remember what they might kind of fall into the celestial realm as well. I think they're celestials, but I would like to see more of them because of their vastness and what they represent. And I don't even feel like trying to name them because I'm going to mess them up. But Eternity, that's definitely one of them. So, but again, just the scale that it brings and the amount of story that it's trying to tell. And, I did enjoy it. And the fact that we got to see Hercules at the very end. And now that I kind of understand who the actor is. So like, okay, so this should be interesting. And Zeus, who I thought was killed, but he wasn't. He just stabbed with his own lightning bolt, and he's like, "Avenge me!" So yeah, we'll see where that goes, and we'll see if Taika continues to tell stories within Marvel. Which, again, there's people saying nay to this, and I'm not really sure why, but we'll see what happens.
Well, he does have a very specific style, very unique style, so I can understand if that just doesn't jive with people. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah. We'll move on now. And this is going to be very hard to do because you and I have not really sat down to discuss this film. And it is the most recent one. We are now going to talk about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever in 5 minutes.
Ooh. All right. I challenge accepted. I'm going to let you start because I will not yield. So go.
Okay, so this film was basically, 2.5 hours of the Fune, not just of Black Panther, not just of T'Challa, but also us saying goodbye to Chadwick Boseman. And it was like a very one of the best cinematic funerals, I'll say, that I've been to or been invited to, or it was made with so much love and care that it not only just memorialized the character, but also the actor, and then also still gave us a story that made sense, that also just took us along. I mean, if you're not like fully invested within that first 5 to 10 minutes, and I definitely appreciate what they did, kind of keeping T'Challa's illness, it's not important. The fact is that he's not here anymore. How are we going to deal with the grief? And this movie was about grief, as well as continuing the story. And then, hey, we've got Namor, this guy who never wears any clothes, and there seems to be very few people who don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying, like, hey, cover up the testicles sometimes, if please. Sure, you're a very delicious man to look at for people who are into that. Whatever, I'm. It may sound like a little bit of a jealousy, maybe a little bit, no, but just whatever. But I liked him as an antagonist. I'm using that word antagonist, not an enemy, but I liked him as an antagonist, one that follows through with their threats. Because he did say, if you do this thing, I'm going to come back and I'm going to kill you.
And he did it.
And he did it. Those kind of like villains or antagonists, those are my favorite. I like the ones that follow through with their threats. And because it's not a threat, it ends up becoming a promise. And it's like, I said I was going to do this and I did it. So it gets points for that. It gets points for all the representation. I loved being underwater and seeing this I almost said a whole new world, but it kind of was.
Right.
Was not used to this. I mean, we've gotten so many different representations of being underwater, and now we've got another one with Avatar: The Way of the Water. And I don't know what that one looks like yet, but I hear good things. We'll see. I'm also thinking of Aquaman and how their underwater representation was for Atlantis, and just lots of beautiful imagery, great story. My jaw dropped when Nakia showed up, because I almost forgot she was in the movie, and my crush for her, or even for Lupita, just returned. Like, oh, I forgot you were in this movie.
Yeah, I liked how they did that as well. She's perfect, and I love her so much. But I like that they kind of hid her, because she was kind of hidden and away from Wakanda, and we were in Wakanda, so. Or like we started the movie out in Wakanda. So I'm glad that we didn't see her for a while. That was a wonderful burial of the lead in a good way.
Correct. Agreed. You have further additional thoughts?
Lots. Can I jump in?
You got a minute and a half. I'll even stretch it for another minute.
God. Oh, okay. So I agree to everything you just said. I thought it was a wonderful tribute to Chadwick Boseman, and I mean, you could feel it. We all knew that this was gonna come, and we all knew that he wasn't gonna be in it, but we knew that he was gonna be in it in lots of ways. So I thought overall that the movie was a beautiful tribute to him as an actor, as a person. And as the Black Panther who is no longer with us. So I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved how the characters grieved, how they allowed us to grieve with them, how they it was handled so delicately and so beautifully. I even just appreciated that they didn't hide it. Like, there is no beating around the bush. Like, yes, we know that Chadwick is gone. Yes, Black Panther is gone. And so I love that the opening scene was Shuri trying to figure out how to save him, and she couldn't ultimately. And I just loved that. I loved how they weaved her grief and her, I don't want to say failure, but she felt like she failed him. I loved how they weaved that into the story, and how she even used that as part of her connection with Namor at the beginning, because he had lost everything. He had lost his whole family. And then how she eventually loses her mother because of Namor, which was heartbreaking, because I'm like, oh my God, we basically have lost two people in this film. Like, this is crazy. But how just grief and processing grief was just woven throughout the film, but also healing and acceptance and, pride for your nation and for your people and the people that are still here, and just moving forward. I loved it. It was perfect.
It was. It's I'm struggling for words because I'm also looking at the time, but I'm like, whatever awards that it's nominated for and hopefully wins is well deserved, because it hit on every level, just like the first one. So it's like, Ryan Coogler, kudos and credits to him for
Mm-hmm.
knowing how to tell the story and
Mm-hmm.
definitely with expert hands. So I can't wait
Mm.
and supremely hope that he's able to continue the story of the Black Panther, not just, a specific one, but at least, following through to see what Shuri does next, what Wakanda does next, which I think is also a series that's on the way. I don't know when.
Mm.
I'm looking forward to seeing that too, but we should move on. But we'll take a
Okay,
collective
fine.
breath.
Oh, I said okay, fine, because I don't want to be done talking about it, but I get it.
I know. I'm trying to keep us on task here because you know what? Reclaiming our time because we reclaimed like 3 minutes from the other films that have not been seen yet. So you've got 3 more minutes. So if you want to talk a bit more about Wakanda Forever.
Well, I am just I'm impressed with what's her name? Shuri's actress, Latasha. What's her name?
Letitia, right?
Letitia Ford. Huh. Whoops. So anyway,
right.
it's a long day. I was impressed with her. I had been kind of mad at her because she was kind of holding up the production of the movie because of things, reasons and things that we won't go into. But I was impressed with her in this movie. I did not know how I was going to feel if she was going to be the next Black Panther, which it makes sense that she is, but I didn't know how I was going to feel about it. And so just because I know Shuri became Black Panther in the comics, so I wasn't mad about that part. I don't know. It was hard for me to see because what huge shoes she was filling, But she did it really well. I was very happy with her performance. I was very impressed with her performance because it was done in such a way that she wasn't, her the actress or her the character wasn't trying to like replace Chadwick. She wasn't trying to replace her brother in the movie, and it was simply this is how it goes. You step into the position because it's yours now. It's your time.
Because you have to.
You have to. And she did have to, and I love that. She probably wouldn't have had the threat been lesser or non-existent or whatever. And so she had to, and she had to step up to the plate. She had to face her grief and her anger and whatever emotions she was still dealing with, face it and deal with it and step up to the task. And so I loved it how it was done. It was done very well. Like I said, delicate comes to mind because like I'm thinking to myself, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do it? And they did it, and they did it well. So it was just beautiful.
Just beautiful. I'm going to say one controversial thing, and we're going to move on right after that. We're going to move into the TV stuff.
Okay.
I hated her suit, but yeah, we're going to move on now. I didn't like the way it looked. Oh my God, we forgot to talk about Riri. She was amazing. I can't wait for her new show.
That's what I was about to say. Riri. Love her.
Love her.
I love it. I love everything about her. I love that she's young, Black, gifted, talented, beautiful, smart as a whip. Just, I love her. I love she's short like me. Like,
yeah, all the representation.
Riri is her name. Right. Riri is her name. She's the next Iron Man, basically. And like, I love it. Freaking love it.
And that is time. We will now move on to The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I feel like you did not watch this one because
nope.
You didn't watch this one. Nope. Okay.
And I don't. I'm going to, but I don't want to.
Right. That's kind of the impression that I got from you, is that you didn't want to. And a lot of people, and I feel like this was almost resistant from a lot of people. Like they did not want to watch this. Like,
I just don't want to. Yeah. Was that a rhetorical question?
What?
You said why?
Oh, no. It was going to be a statement.
Go.
Now I already forgot what that statement was, but I'm trying to see if I can clean it up. As like why people don't want to watch it is probably because like, well, I don't even know why really at this point. Like we probably knew where it was going. It's basically Sam Wilson kind of coming into terms of being the Black Panther, like picking up pretty much right
Captain
after
America?
Endgame. What did I
Captain
say? Oh,
America, you
yes,
mean?
Captain America,
You
I
said
guess,
Black
because
Panther.
Black Panther is still in my head. Yep, thank you. Good job.
I got you.
Thanks. So picking up the mantle of being Captain America and him kind of coming to terms with whether or not he really wants to do it or not, and not feeling worthy enough to do it. But within this story, we
Who
find out
cares?
that there was
Nobody cares.
another Captain America, a black one,
What?
and yeah, see, and and how he has resentment because of tests and things that have happened to him. Hint, hint.
Oh, right.
Tuskegee experiments,
Tuskegee, yeah.
and so we kind of get a bit of that. We get a lot of him or Sam rather, just kind of what it would mean for him, a black person, to be Captain America, and as well as Bucky kind of coming to terms with dealing with the guilt of having killed so many people over the years and making amends about that. We do visit Wakanda as well, briefly, or rather the Dora kind of come out to confront him. But, you know, they're out there and there's a whole fight scene. We get a look at a different Captain America, someone who they once Sam kind of gives up the shield, they have to pretty much place someone else in his shoes as Captain America, someone else to take the mantle who does not deserve it because he takes the shield and he murders someone with it. So that wasn't good. So yeah, it was like, ooh. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely reasons to watch it because it sets up things that's going to happen in the next Captain America film, as well as Sam actually taking back the shield, some other espionage things happening. We get a great little dance break from Zemo, who he happens to be in a club, and all of a sudden he's kind of breaking it down. I'm like, okay, what's happening here? So there are definitely reasons to watch the series. And even as I'm talking about it now, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that did happen. And I'm glad that I went through with it and watched it because I'm like, oh, this isn't bad. This is filling in more things as well as kind of deepening the relationship between Bucky and Sam and why they actually do work pretty well together. So even though at times they kind of got on each other's nerves and they kind of vied for Rogers, what is his first name? Or Rogers? No, it's not his first name. Captain America's first name. Steve Rogers, kind of vying to be like his number 2 person or number 1 person. And like, well, I knew him better. Well, I were fought for him, you know, it's that kind of banter. But the banter was good. It was fun. It was light. It was definitely had that buddy cop kind of vibe to it, even though they still didn't really like each other, but it worked. And it was a good show overall. You just kind of had to get that mindset. It's like, okay, this is not going to suck. And it doesn't suck. It's actually pretty good. It's just, it falls into line. Like a lot of people loved Captain America, the Winter Soldier because of the story that told. And it's similar in that vein where it's not a whole bunch of like wizards or magic or explosions, although some explosions do happen. It's more of, it's more grounded and down to earth. So for that, I would say it's worth watching. I kind of teeter on the edge. Like, is it worth rewatching? And I'll say certain parts of it are. Maybe not all of it, even though it's only 6 episodes, but some of it's worth rewatching. But it's definitely worth getting through because as all of them, they all help tell the story and keep it going further. Yeah.
I mean, I hear you. That's all I got for that.
I know. And plus I dropped a couple little bombs on there that you didn't even know was in there.
That's true. You did.
It could be something that may entice you, may not. And I'm like, well, you told me, so now I don't really need to know. But hopefully, I mean, there's even the possibility that it introduced us to a character that we may see later in the Young Avengers. So we'll see. But my 5 minutes is up. Our next series is Loki.
Woo! I've seen that one.
Yes. Okay. Well, you take it away.
So,
well, if you liked it first.
I did. I loved it, actually. I wasn't sure what to expect out of Loki. I had heard speculation, and of course, New Rockstars seems to know all the secrets, and so I heard some stuff from them, but I still really wasn't sure what to expect. And even expecting certain things, the show still had a really good way of surprising me and entertaining me in ways that I didn't know I needed to be entertained in. So it was really a great show. Loved it. Loved that we got to see a different side of Loki. And I suspect also that it was because of the director and how she chose to bring out Loki's character, which we, hadn't been able to see before, because of course we've seen villain Loki and we've seen trickster Loki, that he is that, all of those things. But we got to see him on a more, I was going to say we got to see him on a more calculated level. That's not exactly it. Like, I guess we saw a different side of his calculation, a softer side of him, a more relatable side of him, not just always vying for his dad's attention or always trying to beat Thor out or prove himself or whatever. We got to see him in his true ice giant, fashion, which is seeing him do magic here and there, but not in only the mischievous type of way. Like, we see him, I can't think of any examples, but like there's one where he was running around and a building was falling and he just kind of flexed at the building and he made the building not hit him until I go back where it was supposed to go or something like that. I was like, see, I love that small, just little sprinkling of the different ways that he is a truly magic person and how he uses it just in everyday. I guess a building falling on you is not an everyday situation, but in smaller situations. Right. So I don't know. I really like the vibe of Loki. I love the music. I loved we got to see freaking Kang at the end of it. And then we got to see what happens when Kang is killed and how that feeds it also into the multiverse, and like how timelines are plucked, from existence and how they're rerouted, and just a whole different side of the universe, the multiverse, that we don't know, we didn't know about, didn't consider, didn't think about. So I just
there's a lot
I love
going
the different
on.
Lokis. Yes, there's different Lokis in one place, like crazy.
Very, very much so. And like you've touched on a lot of the points. Again, as a series, we didn't really know what to expect, what was going to happen. And then like, was time travel involved? Like what's going on here? And multiverses, which is another introduction to it, because this came out before we started actually breaking the multiverse. And and it was just so well done again. And this is another series that for me, I really want to rewatch, but I need to sit down, because I need to actually schedule time to rewatch this, because what I want to do, I want to get to the end, because I want to see that Kang again, because he stole the show. Like when I think of Loki now, I kind of just think of that last episode and how amazing it was, and how that scene alone pretty much sets up for the rest of probably what we're going to see until I guess Kang Dynasty comes out in a couple of years. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to season 2, whatever that's going to bring. And I'm just glad that they're keeping Hiddleston employed and keeping him around to do more fun stuff. And what I kind of felt, what you were kind of getting to, was he felt like he was definitely out of his element. Like he wasn't able to like, even when he saw the stones and they're just all just in a drawer, like, oh yeah, we've got a few of these already. Like they don't do anything there. And he can't control things like he normally can. So he's out of his element. He's a fish out of water, and he needs to get back to someplace real, but also needs to deal with his emotions.
Yeah.
My time just. So we have to move on now to What If. Now, I'm going to do a little plug here. Ashley and I did a episode by episode kind of breakdown of our own over at Love Blurds. But did you get to watch any of What If?
I watched one episode of it, and I believe it was the first episode, or whichever episode where Peggy was Captain Britain
Okay.
or Captain
Yeah.
whatever she was, Peggy.
I don't
That's
know if
it.
that is the first episode. Well, I mean, I can just obviously click on this little link that I have here and I can tell you
Hey.
which episode that was. And there is a season 2 coming. That's great. Early next year. Okay. Okay. Yes. What if Captain Carter were the first Avenger?
Captain Carter. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that is the first episode. And the episode I feel would probably most enjoy. Actually, there's quite a few of them. Because the second one is what if T'Challa became a Star-Lord? And I think this may have been the last that Chadwick Boseman did.
Yeah. So I remember trying to watch that one, but there were kids around and they were not interested in watching the show. So they were making it difficult for me to watch the show, So I was like, oh, never mind. I will watch it freaking later. And then I never came back to it. So
I see.
Yeah. You know how that is.
The next, I do. I do. In fact, I remember watching the series, and Ash and I would, like, as soon as I got home from work, we would watch an episode, like when it came out, before Ken would get home from school. So we would kind of get it in, because normally it was like not much longer than like 45 minutes. So we would have that time to get an episode in. And if he happened to come home before then we just have to pause it and then finish it later. The rest of these episodes, I mean, there are definitely ones that I would say you need to watch this immediately. The second one is one of them. What if the world lost its mightiest heroes? That one was pretty interesting. Each of them had a different flair to it. So it had its own kind of, genre, if you will. And it works in the sense because, again, there are like one-off comics that are basically what ifs, and they kind of just change things. It's like, what if this happened? What would happen? Or how would this story be different? And it was fun to see this in an animated way, and even have not all of them, but some of the actual actors come back to voice their animated characters. So that was kind of nice. The one that you should probably see as soon as possible is episode 4, which is what if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands?
Oh, is that the one where he's a zombie or something?
No, not that one. That one, there is a zombie episode. That would be my other recommendation. That's actually episode 5.
Okay.
And all it's titled is What if zombies? That's the title. What if?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
But, and I will say it is best to watch them in order. And it was kind of sold to us in a way that, like, no, you can watch them out of order if you want to, which is a complete lie, because by the time you get to episode 9, which I don't even really want to, I could say it. The title is What If the Watcher Broke His Oath? And all throughout,
I want to see that.
All throughout this series, the Watcher is the one narrating each of these stories. So
that's right.
Yeah. By definitely episode 8, you realize, like, I think some of these might be connected. So yeah. And it's 9 episodes. They're all about like half an hour, 45 minutes. And it's definitely worth the watch, because there are things that happen within this series that kind of spill over. Like you kind of see some of it happen in Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness. Like, hey, that looks familiar. And then for all we know, it's stuff since the multiverse is breaking that maybe things that happened in this series will start to show up in other things that come out within the MCU. So just because it says it's not connected doesn't mean that it isn't. So I'd say it should be pretty high on the list to check it out. Because what if this could happen? I mean, they are coming out with a zombie series too, by the way. So
what did you just say? That's awesome.
That is something that is in the works. I think it's part of phase 4 or phase 5. If not, then it's phase 6. But that is something that's coming. I believe it might be one of the first few that's going to be like TVMA, I think. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I could be making that part up, but
So true
So
horror, maybe.
yes, and plus if you need to, scratch that Walking Dead itch, since we have both left that series so long ago, that's finally coming to an end. Well, the original series. That's another story. I'm just killing the last 20 seconds of the What If series.
Right.
But yeah, definitely check that out. It's totally worth it.
Okay.
The next series
Will do.
is Hawkeye. Thoughts, feelings? Do you
saw it? I saw it. So
You did see it?
it didn't have a super great long lasting impression because I had to think, did I watch that? I mean, I really enjoyed it. I think when Wilson Fisk showed up and he was the MCU version of Wilson Fisk, it just made me want to erase everything I had seen, because he's not the Netflix Wilson Fisk that I had come to, learn to love
Right.
and fear. He's played by the same actor, which I don't know the same, but he was played by the same actor, but he was not the same Wilson Fisk who literally beheaded someone by slamming the door on them repeatedly,
Was he
like
beheaded?
a car door. Pretty sure, yeah. Pretty
I
sure he
mean, because
beheaded that man.
I remember that scene very vividly. I just didn't know if he was beheaded. I just know that he was definitely murdered, like very brutally and violently.
I thought he was.
But that's
I'm gonna look it up now.
okay. So while you do that, I will also say that I wasn't disappointed by the show. I think I was a little surprised at how much I enjoyed it, but
Yeah,
it is one of those
enjoyable.
shows it was enjoyable. It was entertaining, but it wasn't one like you that kind of just sticks out in my memory. It's like, oh yeah, that did happen. And it was there. I'm glad we got that, it wasn't, it was an itch that needed to be scratched, but it wasn't one you needed to scratch right away. So I'm like, and sometimes it just goes away by itself, but at least that character's journey was continued and we got to meet the new Hawkeye and we got to see the, Avengers musical, which I thought was very amusing. So there's little bits here and there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't give it a strong recommendation. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Like, it was important and I enjoyed it when I watched it, but I was just like, oh well, if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be mad about it. you know?
And I meant to be giving these things ratings as we kind of went along, and I kind of just forgot all about that. But in a scale of like those, of strictly speaking of the series as they are, for me, Hawkeye would probably be at the bottom. And I don't mean that as an insult at all. Like it's still worth watching. And I liked all of the series. let me make that part clear. And I'll say that now. I loved, okay, maybe love is a strong word, but I really enjoyed all of these series. And Hawkeye, for me, it was good, but it wasn't as great as the other ones that I've seen. And I'm even saying that I would rate Hawkeye below Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which would probably be the next one up. And even that sometimes I'm debating about, but I think that's kind of where it lives for me. Like those would be my bottom two, but that's if I'm giving them like a scale on like a grading system. Both of those get like maybe C's, C plus. So it's there. So that's how I feel about them. And that's how I feel about Hawkeye. Hawkeye is a C. Like you passed. Nothing
I'll give
remarkable.
it a C. Yeah, it's like I'll give it a mid C as well. I'll give it a 75. But yeah, it's yeah. There we go. Also,
yeah.
I did confirm that was a beheading.
It was a beheading. Okay.
The car door scene was in fact a beheading. I knew it. How could you forget? Like, he murked them.
I mean,
like,
that is the one scene aside from the fight sequences that happen in hallways, but that is the one scene that really sticks out to me that for you, I mean, like you, I also was like, okay, I really love this character. And I had this conversation recently with somebody at work that I really admire a villain or an antagonist that is not afraid to get their hands dirty. And
and he's definitely, and it's so interesting because he's so classy and he's so like smooth with it in the most horrific terrifying, gritty way possible.
Mm.
So it's such a good villain. So such a good
And
villain.
I do agree. The MCU version, he seems not as violent or just, he doesn't
It's
have that
not as
same kind of
dark.
menace.
Yeah, he's not as menacing. Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully they change that. And, but I'm glad to have seen him. I'm glad he is there because that just opened up the door to like, okay, if he's here, then hopefully we can get to see some of the other characters, which we do see in She-Hulk and in Spider-Man No Way Home. So, but 5 minutes is up for Hawkeye. And I felt like I kind of stretched that one a little bit because we kind of said our feelings about it. But the next one is actually Moon Knight. Did you get to watch that one? Nope. Okay. Well, I'll take it.
Nope. Take it from here.
Moon Knight for me was, and bear with me here. It is to the series as Eternals was to the movies, where it almost exists in its own plane. It doesn't interact with any of the other characters. And for all we know, we're not really sure exactly when it takes place. I think it was explained when later on, but it's by itself. Like, again, what I mean by that is like Moon Knight, the character does not really interact with anyone else within the MCU, but it is an MCU property. And now we know who this character is. I'm hoping we do get to see him again later. I think it was confirmed maybe a season 2 is coming. And it was just a very interesting character and very interesting way to tell this story. Really, for me, there's only one scene that I can really kind of visualize. I'm like, wow, that's a great scene. What happened was, and this is not really spoiling anything, but the character Moon Knight has to turn back time, but not really time, but just the sky. And he does have power kind of that comes from the moon or is moon related and sky related. So him and his god, who he's basically an avatar for, they're both kind of turning back the sky. And it's a literal marvel to see. And there's other characters, like other people in the world, I guess, that see this happening, but nobody acknowledges it. So I'm like, okay, I'm a little confused, but it was a really great scene to see. And even though I'm just pointing that out, I would recommend this series too, because it's just so different. And I enjoyed it. I really kind of did. Not kind of did. I did enjoy it. So again, if I was to rate these with all the other shows, this would probably fall above Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So that would start like the top or the bottom 3. So it would be Moon Knight, then Falcon, and then Hawkeye. So it's up there. Don't ask me what the top 3 are, because that one I kind of keep juggling between WandaVision and Loki. What If, because of the fact it has so many different stories that it's telling, even though it is telling one story. And I'm going to kind of yield my time and just move on to Miss Marvel. Did you get to watch that one?
The movie, right?
Miss Marvel, not Captain Marvel. Okay. So Miss Marvel is the...
Wow.
What is what?
I said, I don't think I saw it.
Oh, okay. Well, Miss Marvel is definitely one of the newer ones for sure, because that came out in July of this year. And basically has what's her name? Kamala Khan. Yeah, that's it. Couldn't remember for a second. And this was just a lot of fun. Like it's definitely a fangirl. Like even the actress herself is a fangirl of all of this. So it was like perfect casting. You can see the joy and the glee in her face, and the fact that like I got superpowers and I'm doing stuff, and I'll figure out how to use it and actually help people. And it was just so much fun. Like it was a joy to watch. I could not wait for a new episode to come out. It was just exciting. So there's really not too much I can say, because I don't want to say too much, because I feel I would spoil it, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's never seen it and wants to watch it. Even though we spoil a whole bunch of things, one of those things are like a year old, you haven't seen it, then shame on you. But for me, it was definitely one of the highlights. So when people are talking about phase 4 being a bummer or just not what they're expecting, like, what are you expecting? Look at the things that were offered to us in the entertainment. Was so wrong with Ms. Marvel? What didn't you like about it? And I'm not sure if I want to know the answer, but I kind of do. But yeah. So for me, that's I'm trying to really sell it hard because I think this would probably be within top 3. And again, don't ask me which one. Is it number 2? Is it number? I don't know. I just know that it's up there. And I had a lot of fun and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the characters and even the cliffhanger ending, which leads you into the Marvels that's coming out next year. So I guess I can leave it at that.
All right. High praise.
Yes, high praise indeed. And even though I'm already telling you, like, oh, make sure you watch this. I know you're going to eventually. You will. But yes. This one, high praise. So we're almost done because I also forgot there's like 2 special presentations, but we'll get to those in a minute. Last one is She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. Did you watch this one at all?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So this one, just popping in for a second because I actually had some technical issues here and I am trying to help you, dear listener, by just editing all of that out. Long story short, Kortney did not watch She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. She did not watch the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special or the Werewolf by Night. I watched all 3 of those. I did enjoy them overall for the most part. And I would recommend them just for casual viewing, if you will. So that's pretty much all you're missing. And now back to your regular scheduled programming. But we're pretty much at the end of our list. That's the MCU. And we'll probably revisit all of this probably maybe next episode or in another special, because I'm sure we still have lots to talk about with Black Panther, for example. And more on all of that probably in the new year. I don't foresee recording anything else this year, but any final thoughts MCU related that you have? Anything you're looking forward to?
Actually, nothing comes to mind because I know there's a lot of titles that I'm just not fully aware of, or like I may have seen the title but I don't know much about it. But I will say I am excited about this phase, and I actually am excited. I retract that statement. I'm excited about Ant-Man's movie coming out next year. Into the something Quantumanium. Anyway, I'm excited about that. I'm also excited about Kang's movie coming out, I think, in 2024. I'm just looking forward to it. I'm very excited for Jonathan Majors taking such a character on, and I'm proud of him and happy for him that he's in the bag, and just so looking forward to what he's going to bring to the table and how he's going to bring this character to the screen. So
same. I'm really excited for him and his just exploding career. Like he's in all the things. Well, he's not in all the things, but he's definitely in some really big things. So I'm very proud of him, very happy for him, excited to see what he does next.
Me too.
Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of things. And in fact, I'm just spitballing the idea, but maybe the first episode of next year will be a look forward to what's happening in phase 5. Maybe we'll just kind of go through all the what's to come.
That's
what
fun.
We can expect. Yeah. So that'll wrap it up for this year, like I said, and for this episode. And do you have any recommendations? I know we just talked about a whole bunch of things, but anything else you think people should check out?
I suggest taking this time to get caught up on your MCU shows. If you're caught up, maybe go back and watch WandaVision or any of them, because there's always Easter eggs, but especially WandaVision because it's awesome, and Loki even, because those are my favorites. And yeah, so either get caught up on MCU stuff, which I know I'm talking to myself, or rewatch the ones that you've seen to just get refreshed to catch the Easter eggs.
Mm-hmm. I definitely co-sign that idea because I already said the ones I really would like to rewatch, both the films and the series, mostly the series, but they do take more time, but it's worth it because they put a lot of work in those shows, and there's a lot to watch. I will piggy off your recommendation, and I will say to check out New Rock Stars on YouTube for breakdowns and all the stuff that us nerds really get into. So
yes,
it's a lot of the questions you may have, they may answer. Ashley's not as big of a fan as we are because she feels like he's gotten some things wrong. Like, yeah, that happens. They're not perfect.
That's okay. But it's all speculation, but fun.
Especially if they're predicting something that may happen later on. Like, they don't know. And that's why that's what's fun to guess. Like, what's going to happen next. So,
right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's definitely something we subscribe to literally and check those out. But yeah, that'll do it. Where can people find you if you're still in, hiatus? You don't have to give out where to find you, but if you want to, you can, if people want to find you. Kortney.
I am still in hiatus. So my handle on Twitter, which is apparently not going to be under Mr. Musk anymore. So there's that. But my handle is I am K Hinton, and I am still pretty much on hiatus. But if you were to tweet me, hint, hint, wink, wink, I would hit the tweet. So, yeah.
So are you still maybe, what was I going to say? I forgot. But, well, yeah, I don't know if he's still the CEO, but we'll talk about that later, another time.
Yeah.
Things are still in flux over there. And that can be its own episode too, because
right. The drama and the dumpster fire there.
I know. I mean, you can come over where it's nice and safe over at Black Twitter, but but
true.
And I will give a shout out to, and this will also count as my recommendation, to Backwoods Sweetie. That is an artist that you can find on Spotify. You can find her all different places, but definitely a friend of mine I've met over on that app. She's got music out on Spotify. It's legit. Like there's other words I could probably use to describe it, but it's great. My song recommendation would be Good Girl Gone Bad. Just fantastic lyricist. I just chef's kiss. You can find me at indoob on that app, on the Twitter app, on the Instagram app, TikTok. I've been trying to do a little bit more TikToks, especially since we've I'm putting this in quotes, rebranded. So trying to put the material out there so people can find us and check us out. And, those were words. I don't know what they were. You figure it out.
Yeah.
You can find me at all things at indoob. Go to indoob.com. Also want to thank whoever has been buying so many of the Living Single t-shirts over at my TeePublic store. Don't know who. Could be a lot of people. Could just be someone who's like, I need 50 of these. I don't know. And I'm not even joking. That's probably how many have been sold so far. I just thank you so much because that's some extra money to help me with Christmas. So thank you.
Right. Thank you, mystery shopper.
I know. Thank you so much. Or if there's many of you, if you just now hearing about it for the first time, just go to the TeePublic store, go to indoob.com. There's links to get there. Thank you. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you for telling your friends. Thank you for hanging out with me this year, hanging out with us this year. Kortney, I don't even know if I told you, but I showed up on I think at least 10 people's top 10 podcasts that they listen to.
Hey, so, we're famous.
I know, and we're in at least 40 countries. I've already forgotten some of the. I think I have screenshots.
Worldwide now, global.
I know. I wasn't expecting for the Spotify Wrapped thing to have much to say about this podcast because I'm like, we're a small podcast. I only, there's only an episode every other week. How much data can they really give me to say that we make a difference for people and their listening habits? But it surprised me and almost brought a tear to my eye. So I thank the listener. I thank you, dear listener, for listening, for sharing, for telling people. It means a lot to me, to both of us. So yes, I thank you.
It does. Thank you.
So yes, now with all that said, do your chores. Sorry, I'm not talking to a kid. Wash your hands, wash your feet, the bottoms of your face. Tell someone that you value them, especially now, because you never know who may be going through something, and especially this holiday season, but also just because of them. You, Kortney, this year. Thank you. Let me bring my voice down. Kortney, you're a great friend. Thank you so much for podding with me.
Ah, so sweet. You're welcome. It's so much fun and I love it. And I love you.
Love you too. Thank you. That is the Indoob podcast for 2022. We will see you next year. Thank you for stopping by and pressing play. And remember, if the world didn't suck, henceforth and forevermore, or we'd all fall off. Henceforth and forevermore.
Something like that.
Something like that. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. See ya.
Thank you so much for listening to the Indoob podcast. To get more Indoob in your life, check out indoob.com, patreon.com/indoob, and of course, merch over at TeePublic. Email us your Ask Indoob questions, comments, or just say hi at indoobpod@gmail.com. Linky dinks in the descripts. Please rate, comment, follow, subscribe, and hashtag tell your friends. Until next time.